Okay. So hi there, folks. Welcome back. It's Saturday at WordCamp US 2022. We've got a couple other great guests. We've got Rob and Jason. My mind just went blank there. Too late last night too. We're all feeling a bit worse for wear. Well, these two are.
Speak for yourself, Jonathan.
Yeah, sure. I think Rob can put me under the table anytime. So, guys, you're part of the Cloudways family.
Yes,
obviously,
sir.
There was a big announcement a few days ago about DigitalOcean.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about our safe updates.
Yeah, exactly. So it's exciting news. So maybe you would tell the audience what do you think the significance of the announcement, and what gets you really excited about it?
What we have in the press release is what we have in the press release. We're acquired by a $4+ billion publicly traded company. Cloudways is Cloudways, and it's a great thing. We're really excited. So we have more resources, a bigger family, and we'll continue doing what we've been doing that got us to this position to actually be acquired by DigitalOcean.
So in the next 6 months to a year, is anything that you think that would directly, with them buying Cloudways, that will affect the WordPress community directly?
Do you have a crystal ball?
No, but you work for them. You work for them. I don't. So I'm just here to put questions to you. You can say no comment. I don't want to answer it. On to the next question.
Love the questions, but we're going to just lean back on our press releases because that's the official statement. It's a publicly traded company, so we can say what they've said. So Cloudways isn't changing. We've had a great acquisition. Really, everyone's really excited about it. It's a huge opportunity to jumpstart additional growth. And I think, really, it's the biggest acquisition in Pakistani history.
Yeah,
so
it shows the globalness and the reach of this. And it really shows over the last few years. They brought in a lot of people. It's a global company, and that's really where we're moving toward with remote work. That's one benefit that we see.
Well, the reason I kind of brought those questions, obviously, it's obvious that DigitalOcean is its own cloud network platform.
Sure.
And Cloudways, you use various providers. So one of the reasons why I'm asking you the first couple of questions is that obviously some of your customer base is going to be a little bit concerned that you're going to stop using the other providers and just concentrate on DigitalOcean. I just wondered if you want to take the opportunity to say that might not be the case.
It's a great, fair question. We've had a lot of that during WordCamp US, and nothing's changing. So our tenanted customers are going to be just as fine as they were yesterday.
Right. So obviously hosting, like most things in the WordPress ecosystem, is in flux and change. Are there any broader trends that you see happening in hosting in the next 6 to a year?
We're seeing all the providers just amp up their software and value solutions. And whether you see something like safe updates at Cloudways that we announced yesterday at WordCamp US, or other features and products on scaling, I think that's where to go. That shared, you have to manage everything on the server kind of model is slowly disappearing. It's commoditized hosting, and the key is how do we add value at Cloudways or at any other hosting company to the experience to kind of limit the exposure to all that technical stuff. Like, you don't need to go into INI files or anything like that. Let's make it more managed and comfortable and easier for our users, for sure.
So there also seems to be a divergence between what an end client might be looking for if they're looking to find a hosting provider, or what a developer / boutique or larger agency might require. How do you think Cloudways, does it identify that kind of segmentation, and how does it try and appeal to both, or is it looking to appeal to both? Because my perspective, my reflection on Cloudways, is that it's kind of more focused towards the agency developer, not very different in some ways to WP Engine, but in marketing terms and in perception, very similar target audience. How would you respond to that?
So we kind of look at the market in three large segments. There's that first-time end user, which is going to be satisfied by like a Shopify or Squarespace or Wix or Weebly, where it's completely hands-off. Some easy drag and drop, site's done, and you're good to go. Then there's this enormous space, the SMB space, and I think that's where a lot of us are actually looking to build those next stages of our companies. At Cloudways, SMB is critical to our success. It's if you look at the press releases, it's one of the main reasons that DigitalOcean acquired Cloudways is to have that kind of experience, more readily accessible. And then you look at like that enterprise space, which really in WordPress, I would say, is almost exclusively targeted by WordPress VIP, or directly to the cloud provider. So you're going directly to AWS. You don't need management because you have that kind of technical experience in-house. And that's what we see on the enterprise side, but we're targeting that giant swath of space where it's small, medium-sized businesses. They might have someone who knows how to implement WordPress and all that, but they don't want to sit there and get AWS certification. They don't want to build out a team of 5-10 engineers just to make sure they can tweak Nginx or Apache or Lightspeed to have the website going quickly. They want that managed experience, but they want it on WordPress, and they know enough about WordPress to really get things done.
What was your reaction in general with the news Elementor, having their cloud platform, and they purchased a hosting company, the Israeli one?
Is that news? I mean, Elementor has been working on that cloud for a couple of years, so
well, maybe they've got some more work to go.
out of your mouth. Great folks at Elementor. They acquired Stratic, and a brilliant team at Stratic.
Yes, they are. Was you surprised at the purchase, or did you
think? Stratic. My impression was Stratic was working their way to be acquired by someone that could actually get that stuff done. And Miriam, good friend, she's done fantastic work. Wonderful to see a company like Stratic acquired. They're both Israeli companies. They've known each other for years. So I think that was almost a perfect fit for both Elementor and Stratic to take it to the next level.
So how do you think they're going to deal? Because obviously they've got a foot in both camps. They've built an enormous following with their plugin, and they've utilised the WordPress community and platform to build that. Now they decided, with Gutenberg seeming to get to a stage where the promise of Gutenberg, you can definitely see it coming and fulfilling that promise. So they've decided that they're going to build a hosted SaaS solution as well. Do you think they're going to attempt to keep both camps going, or at some time do you think they're just going to go with a purely SaaS solution?
Oh my goodness, I couldn't even divine what they're thinking over at Elementor, how they're going to integrate.
It's tricky though,
it's a tricky question. Do you really want to? Do you want to be someone like Squarespace, or do you want to take the Stratic solution and sort of that headless experience and take it to the next level? And that's really for them to decide. I think the easy thing is to say we'll just have our new Squarespace.
Obviously, it's a difficult question, but the reason why I brought it to the both of you is that I think Word Automatic have a similar question to answer in some ways, and in some ways, an even more difficult question because they've got WordPress.com.
Yep.
They got
VIP.
They highly. I'm looking for the appropriate wording. They would not want me to utilise control as a word around WordPress.org. Let's say they are highly influential.
Involved.
That's probably the word.
Committed to.
Otherwise, I'll be getting a call from the boss. I've already had a couple of emails from him already.
Wait, so we should not be doing this interview then?
Run.
I always listen to the boss, but I'm my own man as well. How do you think that they're having this discussion as well? Because the reason why I bring it up, because what is hosting and what isn't, it all seems to be up there for the grab in a way. It's in flux, basically.
And there's a million opportunities. We're focused on small, medium businesses, agencies that need a platform that they don't have to worry about it. And so that's our target. What Elementor does, what .com does, what WP Engine, Bluehost, all those folks do. They're going to have to answer those questions. I think we've been committed for 11 years to SMBs, and we're just going to keep focusing on that.
Yeah, I spoke to a couple of people from WP Engine yesterday, and obviously they bought Studio Press, the Genesis. I think for them it's a very good purchase in a way, because it really brought in a very subset. And obviously I think they're working on integrating it and planning out a future. I think it's going to be partially around Gutenberg, but they've got a tricky thing. They've got this legacy platform that people still use, still love, yet they've got to attempt to move it forward as well. The one area, the one player that's also invested, and I spoke to them as well the last couple of days, is Divi.
Oh, yeah.
Now, Divi obviously are going to have a very large community, a very large. They're going to. They told me that they're just about to unleash their new platform. They spent 2 years building it. It's going to be really Gutenberg on steroids. It's going to be really competing head-on with Spectre, maybe from Astra and Cadence. I see one of the major hosting providers attempting to buy them out, really. Would you not? I'm not saying that your Cloudways is going to, but I expect that there's been a few offers made their way, because I'd imagine a few of the hosting providers are looking at them.
I would expect that all of the page builders, theme providers internally are trying to figure out what that next step for them is. We're big fans of flexibility. You get the most amount of flexibility if you're using core.
Yeah, you've kept a broad shirt. You haven't favoured anybody, really.
I mean, we do have relationships with, Extendify, with, Astra, other page builders, and that's great. But yeah, we haven't committed to one or the other. We've been a flexible company for 11 years. Multi-cloud. We don't, block plugins that you can install. Do what you need to do, and we found that our customers really appreciate that. They don't need a walled WordPress garden.
Right. So obviously this has been the first WordCamp for a couple of years because of COVID. Obviously it's been
First WordCamp US.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, you are correct. Obviously in the US, and obviously it's a smaller event. You went. It seems ages ago, but you were saying in June. It's the most strange time. I thought Porto was a great event.
Fantastic.
This is a much smaller. It's got a feel of more of a trade industry event because of the size.
And it's a great location. I mean,
Yeah.
We're all together, so we can bump. There's a lot of that accidental bumping into people.
Well, I haven't. I've just been hiding.
You're not. Everyone knows you, Jonathan. You're not hiding. We know
if
you.
I'm not in front of my mic, I'm lost. But I feel naked if I'm not in front. It's a much peculiar feeling. I feel that there's enormous opportunities. The best years of WordPress could not be behind it, but it's also there's a lot of. I also see contribution has diminished. I spoke to a couple of leading people in Automatic and WordPress, and they've been open about that there's been a decline in contribution. What do you feel maybe some of the factors have led to that decline?
I know. I'll just speak from Cloudways' perspective. We've contributed more in the last year and a half than we've probably contributed in the last 6 years. So we're doubling down on what we can do and how we can help .org. I think in general, there's almost sort of this life cycle of an open source project. So it's not a crazy bell curve, but you jump up with a lot of excitement. Everyone's going to get into it. It's we've got a new community, a new technology, and we're going to make it happen. And then it starts to kind of peel off as the professionalization of the project occurs.
Yeah,
you can see that. I think the best example is any Linux projects. You don't see everyone freaking out because there aren't 10,000 contributors to Red Hat, but the project still grows and it's doing things. It's just there's a life
changes.
cycle. It just more, and there's people get worried about it. I'm like, listen, WordPress has been around almost 20 years. So
and that's something too. I mean, it's the maturity of the project, and look at the people who've been contributing. These people have gotten on with their lives. They started with WordPress. A lot of people started when they were just teenagers. I started way back before there was WordPress and things like that. And I've seen myself, even in life, you can contribute for a decade, but then you move on.
20.
Oh, yeah. Don't worry about that.
He only looks 20 twice.
Yep,
and
twice.
That's
Yep. But I mean, realistically, these are people who started in teenagers. Now they have families. They don't have the time. They're professionals. So you're going to see that. I think there's a huge opportunity now that we're embracing Gutenberg and we're embracing JavaScript and changing the project a little bit. It's been moving toward the PHP has been great, but now we have actual availability for these kids that are coming up. They're really excited about Jamstack front end development and doing all these cool things with the latest toys,
headless, serverless.
Just to kind of finish up, one of the kind of concrete tenets of WordPress has been backward compatibility. Obviously it is extremely important because other projects have had problems.
We've come from the Joomla world. I used to be president of Joomla.
Very diplomatic.
You're doing a great job.
Yeah, I'm not normally, but I've really tried. I've really tried.
Drupal, Joomla, they've all had these break releases.
It's tricky though. It could be, on reflection, there could have been some other decisions, but that's with hindsight, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hindsight's fantastic, isn't it?
I'm never wrong.
You said it. So it's been a tenant in WordPress, backward compatibility. I personally think when it came to Gutenberg and the decision around that they took the compatibility a bit too far. I think it needed reassurance that WordPress before Gutenberg was going to be supported for a period of time. But I think on reflection, it should have been taken for opportunity to rebuild, to integrate Gutenberg. And I think there was underestimation about the technical task involved. And it's literally like trying to do maintenance on a car as it's running. And what's your own reflections on that? Because you've got a lot of experience, because, both of you.
We've seen it both ways. Obviously, what has made WordPress very successful is, they haven't sunk the ship in any way, shape, or form. And having that backwards compatibility.
It's difficult in the morning after a hard night.
Oh my goodness! Well, first interview of the day, it gets a little complicated. Big words. From a business professional perspective, it makes sense. There are people who have invested immense amount of resources to see WordPress be successful, and you don't want to all of a sudden just say flip the switch.
No, definitely not that. I'm definitely not suggesting that in any shape or form.
I actually am thrilled by the way Gutenberg's rolled out. There's fits and starts, but I think end users who don't follow and get involved in the WordPress community news are like, okay, it's a new feature, it's changed, we'll figure it out. I think there's a lot of Sturm und Drang with folks who have been like, I'm classic editor, or this is how it should be, or this is.
Yeah, I was never one of those. I've been very frustrated with its progress because I just felt that as a project, it's not been fantastically managed, to be frank about it. And it just seemed to, for a period of time, it seemed a bit of a ship that didn't have a captain.
Matt's calling.
Yeah, that's the bit he doesn't like. Sullivan's, I say, but he's never been but it is what it is. I think that has changed recently. You can see it getting somewhere. But I was never one of those that said, oh, we should just stay with the classic editor, because I saw that as insanity as well, because it really was a bit gropey, wasn't it?
Well, it's like building websites in Notepad or something like that.
Yeah.
You need to move to the next level and change the way you have a visual experience with WordPress. I am a huge fanboy of Gutenberg. So there's probably not a bad thing I'll say about it, except I would have liked to see it 5 years earlier.
Yeah, well, that's my position. I also think one of the...
Oh, we're talking block editor, because Gutenberg's a project, and then we have block editor, and we have pattern. So there's like those naming conventions that start getting...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Well, you got a point there. Just to finish off, I think in UX design, my understanding, and they've publicly stated that in the discussions I had a discussion with Chloe yesterday,
fantastic.
And she was quite open that they didn't appreciate UX design as much as they should have done, and they have brought in a lot of new people and a lot of UX contributors and people they've hired. And in general, when it comes to these type of projects, does UX design tend to take a backseat until it's realised that it should be up in the front?
You want to take that one, or?
Well, I definitely think there's, the best programmers in the world and developers are not UX experts, and I think that it's very hard to run UX, especially in an open source project.
Yes.
Because what is the toggle? Is it cornflower blue? Is it yellow? Is it a switch? Does it say on? Does it say off? This can take a month to decide just what the verbiage is.
A month?
A year. Of course. So
we are talking about automatic, at least.
Yeah. Oh, well, it's not even automatic. I mean, we've seen it on a smaller scale with like Joomla and Drupal and how they've tried to update their
They're
UX
such nice
experience.
people in general, automatic people, but you can see that they all get together, they have an endless conversation.
But that would happen in any community. Everyone's got an opinion on design and UX and all that kind of stuff. And an open source project.
Oh dear. God, you say we should upset them as well.
There are a lot more people who have equal votes. I mean, that's one of the nice things about automatic, having so much influence in the project is that they can be like, okay, let's kind of all steer in one direction.
Well, kind of just to finish off, guys. I've been criticised because I was a little bit critical of the boss when he said he wanted to be the benign dictator forever. I said that didn't exactly go down with me that well. But on the other hand, it was taken that I wanted the whole thing to be run by committee in this set of committees, and I certainly don't want that. I was just suggesting that you just wanted one head, for that head to be voted in and to have like 4 to 8 years, and unless they do something really crazy, they should be left to control it with a guiding committee. But it was taken that I wanted it all to be run by committee, and that would be disastrous.
Speaking from the Joomla side, where everything is run by committee,
Oh God.
Great software, great tools, great project. Committee slows it down. It becomes a much more political process to get anything done, and I really appreciate Matt or Dries at Drupal for their ability to kind of really steer a project single-handedly. It's having worn those shoes very briefly. It is There's no love or
You're still
glory.
putting the arrows out.
Yeah,
aren't
that's
you?
right.
They're
really-
still putting the arrows out.
There's no love or glory. Everyone's you can't make everyone happy, and you're always going to have folks that are.
It's never actually bothered me to make people unhappy. I usually,
I see you in the morning, I'm instantly unhappy, and I'm like, that's fine. I'll make Jonathan unhappy.
I got that face that makes people unhappy.
That unhappy face.
Right, I think we're going to wrap it up. We've had a great chat. Thanks for turning up. I thought you did well actually, because I knew you'd been out roaming last night.
That's just WordCampUSA.
I just went home and had a skip, and I was going to go to the parties, and then I woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, you missed our Cloudways block party. It was a
I did.
blast.
It was
And we started early. We had great tacos.
After talking to people all day, I was just knackered. It's very tiring talking to people, isn't it? It's surprising, really.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about it. I won't have a voice by the end of the day, I think.
Yeah, mine's
A lot
already
of talking.
shrinking.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm going to wrap it up. We've got some great interviews during the day. We'll be back in a little while, folks. See you later.